Hello, fellow gastronomes, and welcome to Dirty Belly, where we take you on a journey as your food goes from dirt to your belly. I am your host, a dad who loves to eat and grow, Jeff Sims. I am here today with our resident culinarian, Matthew Gaddis.
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be back. Took a week off because I was exhausted. So it's really nice to be back. Jeff, how you been doing?
Yeah, I took a week off because it was Mother's Day. Okay, I had a legitimate reason.
Oh, wait, never mind. That means I took 2 weeks off. Oh, God. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. It's fine.
I'm taking a week off next week too. I'm going to Disney World. Oh, also a special shout out to Will Gray floating out there in the ether somewhere. Y'all can't see him, y'all can't hear him, but he lives inside our ears and our minds. He's constantly babbling at us.
He's in a facility that used to be NORAD. They don't use that anymore because everybody knows where it is. But he's deep into the mountainside, so not a lot of signal.
And if you were to say use bad words in the chat, like hot dog ice cream or something, he would ban you, or pineapple pizza. He would he would ban you for life. Okay, so don't even try it because we don't need to lose the viewers. Please don't. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to Disney World. I'm gonna try some delicious food down there. I can't wait to share all that with you guys. But I will be gone for a week. So
We'll hold it down, bud.
yeah, please do. That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
You've got a big trip coming up. You just told me.
Yes, indeed. Going to DC with the lady. I'm very excited about that. Got to spend some time there when I was living in Virginia, opening up a restaurant called Field and Main. It was a really great project. Moved back to Nashville for my love of Nashville, but can't wait to go back there. Can't wait to roam around DC again. It's such a cool town. Like lots of history and also just super cool vibe. Like great neighborhoods. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited. We did
I'm
the we did the airfare and the hotel, so the hard part's over. Now we just got to get there.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I've been to DC before. I would love to go back. There's so much history there, and the museums, especially, just incredible. I mean, it's in the Western Hemisphere, I can't think of a better place for like museums and history than Washington D.C.
Oh, and to stay
Especially
on
for American
brand,
history.
to stay on brand here, one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is going to a place called Ben's Chili Bowl. It's a historical restaurant in North DC. And during the civil rights movement, it was kind of church for all sides of the fence. Politicians, activists, everybody would go there. And it's the home of the half smoke. It's a half pork, half beef, basically big sausage, and they dress it up like a chili cheese dog. DC original. It's incredible. I can't wait to go back there.
I'd never heard of that. That's cool. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's dope. Yeah, half smokes and mumbo sauce. That's DC's offering. So if you don't know about mumbo sauce, you know if you know, you know.
Well, I'm interested to learn more about it. I love history like that. The places that things happened, and um, sounds like maybe a lot of behind the scenes deals may have gone down there.
More than likely.
Yeah. People passing napkins, with stuff written on it. A shake of the head or a made
Well,
all
they're
the
passing
difference.
napkins to wipe up the chili sauce, but also
Yeah.
maybe some deals.
And another time that you're often passing the napkins is when you eat ribs, barbecue ribs specifically.
Oh, look at him go! Look at that
Yeah, which is
transition.
it's our topic this week, barbecue ribs. Now, we said ribs last episode, but that ribs is such a big topic that we decided to slim it down a little bit just to the barbecue aspect. I think I don't know. Matt may have some stuff that's non-barbecue related. I focus mostly on barbecue ribs.
I got a few things, but we'll see where we go.
What was the best thing you ate this week, Matt?
I've had a real hectic week. Didn't get a lot of super high quality stuff in until today. Um, Amanda and I went to the farmers market, the East Nashville farmers market, and a truck that was there called Bad Luck Burger Club. They're a Nashville, especially East Nashville staple. They just do smash burgers, and Finally got to have that for the first time. I mean, no frills. It was a couple of smash patties, American cheese, some special sauce, jalapenos, and pickles, and caramelized onions. And just, I mean, I think both of us had them down in about 90 seconds. We were so hungry. But it's one of those places where, like, I've been trying. You got to kind of track these food trucks around town, and I hadn't been able to nail them down, and they just happened to be at the farmers market when we went. So I absolutely had to do that, and yeah, it was exactly what I needed. It was absolutely delicious. Crispy pat. Oh my god, the beef patty was like spilling outside the bun, and everything outside the bun was just crispy. So you got to like nibble that around before you got into the meat of it. Like, oh, it was great.
Yeah, so I think the best thing I ate recently is ribs. Actually, I smoked or grilled 2 racks. I did a dry rub, grilled 2 racks of ribs. It's just me and my wife eating them. I packed them all up in lunches for the week, and I can't believe I actually got tired of ribs by the end of the week, but I did. You know, when you eat something 6 days straight, it doesn't matter what it is. I think unless it's Oreos, you're probably going to get tired of it.
Unless it's Oreos.
Can you think of anything besides Oreos you wouldn't get tired of eating 6 days straight?
Grippo's potato chips.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very
I'm
regionally
waiting to see what
specific.
Will's going to type in the chat here.
Man, speaking of
nothing
if you know,
profane,
you
Will.
know.
Okay, nothing vulgar.
Yeah, on that if you know thing, Grippo's is a brand of they're a potato chip company that you used to have to go to at least Kentucky or north to find them, and now they're popping up in 7-Elevens here in Nashville, and I could not be happier. It's my entire childhood in a bag. There's so much MSG on them, it's unbelievable. And oh my god, they're good.
What do you think? When somebody says barbecue ribs, what do you think of, Matt? What do you think of
I
like
think
if you had to define barbecue ribs, what does that mean?
I think it implies smoking. Absolutely. There are plenty of valid methods of, and I assume we're talking like pork spare ribs here. A lot of valid methods of cooking in the oven or in a pressure cooker or something like that. But what I think is low and slow for 6 to 8 hours with smoke and a rub and sauce if you need it. But I'm more of a fan of the Memphis dry rub style. So that's the picture I have in my head.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think technically it can be barbecue and just be over charcoal and over a pit or something like that. But the addition of some sort of hardwood in there to to give it that extra smokiness is really going to take it to the next level. And if you want to make great barbecue ribs, you really need it. So I don't disagree at all with what you're saying there, and I do think to be what we would consider modern day barbecue, it does need some sort of rub. And there's a few key ingredients that we'll talk about later that go into pretty much all barbecue rubs. And a lot of times it'll come with the sauce, but you know, it's really to me, it's a barbecue is like it's a method of cooking, usually over an open pit or on a smoker. And it's one of like mankind's, I think, earliest forms of cooking, right? Cooking over the open fire,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like when you talk about, as I always like to talk about the history of food, like when they start looking at the history of barbecue ribs, I mean, when did people start eating barbecue ribs? Probably forever. I mean, I mean, woolly mammoth ribs. Probably at some point, some caveman cooked a woolly mammoth rib over a fire and ate it. You know, it's just, you know, there's really no easy point to define where we probably started doing this, except to say that we've been doing it for before recorded history.
There's a really good reference, a book to reference here. It's the Seven Fires book by Francis Mallmann. He's an Argentinian chef, and Argentinian cooking uses a lot of open fire and a lot of smoke. They do a lot of asador, a lot of wood-fired plancha kind of stuff. And the Seven Fires is, like it sounds, seven different types and stages of fire that you can cook with, and smoke is one of them, and that's all ancient cooking techniques. So yeah, definitely check out Seven Fires by Francis Mallman if you want a real crash course into fire cooking and smoking and all that.
And you know, when we're talking about like what we think of as Americanized ribs, Americanized barbecue, um, you know, a lot of people kind of, I think, mistakenly point to the South and say, well, okay, you know, kind of like collard greens or whatever, the, you know, that the slaves are given the worst cuts and that's what they use, but that's not really true. We did have barbecue in the South uh, pre-refrigeration times, but generally it was whole hog, where they would kill a hog and take it immediately and put it on the fire. The problem is there wasn't a great way to preserve meat before refrigeration. So when they did kill their hogs, it was in late fall, in the winter. They would kill a lot of them, and they would preserve the meat. They would ham it, they would smoke it, they would brine it, do things not like we would think of as traditional modern barbecue. You really don't start to see that until probably the 19th century, when we mastered the art of making ice and were able to refrigerate. Um, Sometime in the 19th century, Cincinnati became known as like the hog producing. I think they called it like Hogstown or something like that. Uh, by 1836, they were slaughtering 2,600 hogs per day in
In
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati,
In Cincinnati,
hot damn.
and what they would do, they would keep them in a refrigerated room, but if obviously they don't have refrigerated transportation yet, so they would brine them. They would can it and brine it. They would put or barrel it. They would put it in barrels with brine to preserve it and send it out. But the ribs wouldn't fit in the barrels. So at first they would just dump them in the river because they just had all these ribs. I mean, you're killing 2,600 hogs a day. You have all these ribs. They start dumping them in the river, and people were seeing that. So the local tavern owners and the local hotel owners and stuff, they started coming and they would give them for free.
Oh God, yes.
So you know, there was a deal with a lot of the local pork places. Like if you just brought up your baskets, they would just fill it up with as many as you could carry and they'd take it back. So, you know, really Cincinnati is probably where people really started to eat ribs, kind of
Yeah, that's
widespread in the United
necessity.
States.
Just that's necessity playing out. Like if you're running a business and you find yourself with all this free product, even if it's discard, you're going to figure out how to cook it, and you're going to
And
figure out how to make a buck.
and then as we move further into the 20th century, early 1900s, the country starts to urbanize more. We get better refrigeration techniques. Barbecue shacks start popping up everywhere, and really, like, there's really no set point like where it's like, oh, Bob Wilson made the first barbecue rib in, you know, Dallas, Texas. It's just like all of a sudden it's just like everybody everywhere was barbecuing food, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a primitive cooking method,
And
and
it makes perfect sense too, because like you touched on with curing and smoking and pickling and brining, those are all ways to increase the longevity of your meats. Like I think of uh, smokehouses where not like a barbecue place like we would think of these days, but a smokehouse where you would take whole muscle cuts and smoke them to remove that moisture and to boost the flavor and like concentrate the sugars of the protein. So you're not only making a more intense flavor, you're increasing the shelf life, like room temperature of a cut of raw meat. So you go from something that's going to go bad in a couple of days to something that you can have around for 6 months and will sustain your family or yourself, whatever you're trying to get to.
yep, and that's exactly what you would see in the South pre uh, refrigeration. You know, that's what they would do with their hogs. And when you were killing the hogs, then it had to be cool enough so that you could kill them, hang them, bleed them, and smoke them before the meat would turn. So you wanted 30 to 40 degree days, was ideal for that.
Yeah, because bleeding a hog, and if you don't have like a quick process, like a factory process, I mean that's a 12-hour process. Like it's a little gruesome, but that's what it takes.
You got to do it right, you know. Um, but now, when you think about barbecue, I mean, how many different types of barbecue do you think there are in in the world? You know,
That's an insane question.
it's crazy, right? But it goes back to what we talked about earlier, that it was a primitive cooking method, right? So it's everywhere, right? Everywhere has their own style of barbecue because we've been barbecuing since before we were recording history. So, but I'd like to take a minute to talk a little bit about the styles of barbecue that you might find around the United States, and what they might do with ribs. Matt, what do you think are your favorite styles?
My favorite style would probably be my go-to would be a Memphis style rib. A nice dry rub. Shout out to Central Barbecue, which we now have in Nashville, which is really great. I'm always a little skeptical when a barbecue place expands because barbecue is such a high touch cuisine that I feel like once you start to franchise, it gets a little shaky. I'm sure we can all think of certain local franchises that have gone downhill after they started doing that, but we won't name that here. But high key, I don't know if there is a Texas style with ribs. I'm sure there is, but high key, my absolute favorite ribs I've had was Franklin Barbecue. I knew I was going to love the brisket when I went there, and then I got the ribs as well, and it was unbelievable. Right before we started, I actually watched a video of Aaron Franklin talking about his rib process, and it's very, very interesting. Just a salt pepper rub with the right kind of trim, getting all the excess off of the rib and smoking it. I think he did about 285 for 7 hours, and it's just perfection. So yeah,
Was
I
that a
guess I
pork
guess
or
I'll
beef
call that
rib?
Texas style.
Was that a pork or beef rib?
It's a pork rib. He does do a whole series on beef ribs, and
Yeah.
I am a big fan of beef ribs.
Yeah, and beef is, when you think about Texas barbecue, you think about beef in my
Yeah.
mind. And the thing about Texas barbecue is there's so many different types. I mean, Texas is such a massive state that you can go to one part of Texas and barbecue is going to be like this, and you go to another part of Texas and it's going to be completely different. The two caveats I would say about Texas barbecue in general is that they do prefer beef. Not that that's all that you're going to find down there, but in general they prefer beef because cowboys and cows in Texas. I mean, let's get serious here. And you're going to see a lot of mesquite cooking. Is going to be a flavor profile that you're going to see. Going back to the Memphis style, Memphis is very well known for their ribs, the dry rub ribs. Some places in Memphis will serve them wet, but if you just say Memphis style ribs, you're generally talking about a dry rubbed rib. It's going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
heavily seasoned. Most of the time, they will wet the rib before they smoke it to make the kind of the seasoning stick. They'll put like a vinegar kind of solution on it, and then the rub, and then
Yo,
smoke
yeah.
it.
Dude,
And
my favorite style of ribs that I get from Central, which is a place from Memphis, they have a muddy style. So it's they do the wet slather and the dry rub and smoke it like they do everything. And then you can either get them wet or dry, or you can get them muddy. And muddy is where they take a little bit of their sauce and mix in more of their dry rub and just cake it on afterwards, and then finish it for another like 30 minutes in the smoker. So you get this extra layer of flavor, extra layer of smoke. It's a flavor bomb.
it's like rib icing.
Yeah. It's like oh, do I want frosting on that? Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll take some barbecue frosting, please. My favorite type of barbecue is actually Carolina barbecue. Um, Now, Carolina barbecue, you're going to see mostly pork. You're going to see a lot of pulled pork. They do ribs and sausages and stuff like that. But really, what defines Carolina barbecue is vinegar mustard based sauce.
Yup.
And uh, I'll talk a little bit more about what I like to put in my vinegar mustard sauce later. But it's a very unique kind of thing. Um, and if you've had it, and if you haven't, I really suggest you try it because it's different than any other barbecue I think you've ever had.
Yeah, that
And
bite, that sour bite is so good with all the fat from the meat that you're eating. It's such a good juxtaposition.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Will's favorite strange barbecue, Alabama style barbecue, of course. Uh, in Alabama, traditionally, you will see pork. You also see a lot of chicken, and their barbecue sauce is actually white, which is mayonnaise based. If I'm not mistaken, Will's going to yell in my ear if I am mistaken, but I haven't heard anything, so it is mayonnaise based. You see, I'm a genius. Uh, he says that's dicey. I may not be a genius. Kansas City style, sweet and tangy. When a lot of people that don't know a lot about barbecue think about barbecue or barbecue sauce, you're probably thinking about Kansas City style.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you go to McDonald's and you get chicken nuggets with barbecue sauce, that's what you're thinking of when you think of Kansas City style. That kind of flavor, very sweet, very acidic, a lot of sugar in it.
Al in the chat is wondering what we would rank the styles personally. I think for me, I've already put myself out there. I think Texas style number one, Memphis number two, Carolina number three, and I think Kansas City would be at the bottom of the list for me, just because it's a sauce dependent situation, and I like the meat to speak for itself.
Yeah, I would go Carolina, Memphis, Texas. So I'd reverse your order there. I'm gonna go top three. After that, it's just I don't know. There's so many types that after my three favorites, or after the three best, I don't even think it's my three favorites. I think you're gonna have a hard time finding anybody who's gonna say that out of Carolina, Memphis, Texas, unless they're from Kansas City or something, or from St. Louis, is gonna say that those shouldn't be the top three because
Oh yeah, St.
yeah.
Louis is going to get mad they didn't even get mentioned. All
Oh, I
right.
was about to mention them. Only because every place has its own specific like weird barbecue things, and in St. Louis they have they're really not well known for serving barbecue shoulder, uh, but they're also known for serving barbecue snout, and
Nice.
they call it crispy snoots.
Yes,
Which,
dude. Yeah. Give me them
which
snoots.
I've got to try it. I may drive to St. Louis. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
need
got
I need
I
some
got to
snoots
try
in my
some
life.
crispy snoots.
God, I haven't done snoots in college.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Uh, Kentucky style barbecue, barbecue mutton is one thing they're
Yes.
known for up there.
Yo, shout out
Um,
Moonlight Barbecue in Owensboro, Kentucky. Best chopped mutton you'll ever have. And they got a buffet. It's full of old people, but it's delicious.
but like, here's the thing: the list is endless. I mean, there's Chicago style barbecue. Like, it's like everywhere you go, there's gonna have some place. It's like, oh, this is our style of barbecue. My grandmother's hometown, Salina, Tennessee, has its own style of barbecue that I've never had anywhere else outside of that town. You
Salina
know,
style.
yeah, it's Salina style, and I don't know. I
They
don't know
put
if they
gummy bears
should or
on it.
I don't know if they should or shouldn't have it. I thought it was okay. My grandmother loved it though. So, if you grow up with it, you probably love it. But so, everywhere's got their own style of barbecue. That's just how it is. And so we could probably have a whole episode, but we're not going to because we're going to talk about other stuff too, right? Which is the age old debate here. When you're eating your ribs, are we going wet or are we going dry?
If I have to pick, I'm going dry. I'm going in dry. Absolutely. I again, like I said, the meat has to speak for itself, because if the core product isn't good and you're just putting a tasty sauce on it, I can put tasty sauce on anything. I want that good flavor. I want that perfectly rendered fat. I want it to not quite fall off the bone, but damn near. Like I need I need the dry rub. I need it to do its own job.
Yeah, I should go wet just so we disagree, but I can't disagree. I mean, it's a dry style rib, I think is the preferred way to eat a rib. It's less messy, right?
True.
After eating a rack of dry style ribs, I need a napkin. After eating wet style ribs, you eat a whole rack, you probably need a shower.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, yeah.
Like
I need a hose and a towel.
they hand out wet wipes and it's not enough. Okay, like you need a full on trip to the bathroom, washing your face, up the arms. Like I mean, it's messy
And I'm
because
here for it. No, just throwing that out there. I'm here for all of that. But yeah, if I had to choose one, I'm going dry.
the only way that you could say wet, I guess, is if you eat them with like a knife and fork. But if you do that, don't eat with me. Okay, I don't want to see that. You eat ribs with your fingers and your hands. Okay, you get it's a visceral thing. It's a connection to primitive man. Okay, so we don't. He didn't have a knife and a fork. I ain't gonna have one either. Okay, I'm gonna eat it with my little fingies. Okay, but what I do like, and this is where I kind of bridge the gap here. I do like having a little bowl of sauce there, so I can dip it in, and for me, it's gonna be Carolina Gold sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but if you got a sauce with your ribs, what kind of sauce are you gonna put down there?
I like a real I'm a chili head, so I like my ribs to be very savory, not spicy on the rub, just savory and fatty. And then I like a good if I'm not going to vinegar sauce, I love a good I guess we would call it a Kansas City style, like a thicker, sweeter sauce, but I want it to be like gritty with spices and like I want it to light me up. So every every fifth or sixth bite, maybe I dip back into the sauce just a little bit, just to light me up.
And the best way to do a good sauce or a good rub is to not go to the store and buy it, to start making it yourself and learn what you love. And because that way you can make exactly what you want. Because what you're describing is going to be hard to find at the store,
Yeah.
but you'll
Well,
be
and
able to make
if
it.
you have a smoker, if you happen to have a smoker at home, you smoke your own ribs. Do yourself a favor and get a drip pan. And all of that fat and everything that drips off of those ribs during the cooking, that's the base of your sauce. You can add a little tomato paste, you can add some more spices, you can add some vinegar, but that you're already getting smoky, fatty, meaty flavor from those pan drippings. Don't let that go to waste.
Yeah. First, it's going to go in your sauce, and then it's going to go in your arteries. So
Hell
good,
yeah.
good for you. What goes in your barbecue rub?
I'm very, very simple. And we're talking about ribs in particular. For a rib rub, I'm going salt, pepper, granulated garlic, not powdered garlic. Powdered garlic can put a weird texture into your rub. You don't want anything that's too fine. Uh, and a touch of paprika, a touch of chili powder, and that's about it. I like to keep it simple. Like, so salt and pepper being the dominant. And again, if anyone is watching this and they have also watched Aaron Franklin's videos, I'm ripping this right from him. But I've been doing it for years, so it's honest for me at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I get wild with it. Now, my barbecue rub is going to vary every time I make it based upon what's in my cabinet and how I'm feeling that day and what I want to put in there, what I'm trying to make. But ingredients that I absolutely the ingredients that are absolutely 100% always going in my barbecue rub: paprika, chili powder, onion, garlic, brown sugar, and salt and
Oh
pepper,
yeah,
of
yeah,
course. That's going to be my base. Other things that I may add some celery seed or some celery salt. I may add some oregano, some thyme. I may add
dude.
some
Brown sugar is
cumin.
such a good move. I forgot about that.
You
That's a
you you
great
put that
move.
in there. You just forgot. That's all.
No,
Coriander. I might put
it's
in some
perfect.
coriander. Dry mustard is going to make an appearance a lot of the time. Some weirder stuff that I might put in there. I might put allspice in there.
Yeah,
Um, cayenne pepper. I mean, that's where all your heat on your dry rub's gonna come. You can get some other dried peppers, but cayenne is fine.
yeah.
You're not gonna
With
notice you're
the
not gonna notice a big difference between the different peppers. What I may do instead is like if I don't want to, maybe if I don't have any cayenne pepper, I may use like a chipotle chili powder or something, a chili powder that brings the heat. But that's about it. But normally, my wife doesn't like spicy food, so if I'm cooking, I'm probably not making it too spicy. It would just be a pinch.
with that powdered mustard, you touched on something that I had forgotten about, and Sledge reminded me of it. Was a really great vehicle to rub your ribs is take just a yellow mustard, and rub your ribs down with that mustard, and then put your rub on top of that. It's gonna make your rub stick to the meat a little bit better,
Yeah.
and create a foundation, so you're not gonna lose things out of there. I kind of forgot about that, and my counterpoint was, well, I always brine my ribs, so when they come out of the brine, they're wet enough for everything to stick to it anyway. But if you want to do a quick brine, or you don't want to brine at all, do a little mustard rub, and everything's going to stick there nice and pretty.
And I think that fits really well, especially, with what we told you earlier about Memphis ribs. Think about what I said about Memphis ribs. What do they do first? They're going to put a little vinegar solution on the rib first. Well, what is mustard? It's vinegar and powdered mustard, basically. You know what I mean? There's going to be a little bit more stuff in there, but that's basically what it is, just vinegar and mustard. And so you're basically making a Memphis style rub when you do that.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't need to put the dry mustard in your rub, because there's already going to be a lot of mustard flavor on there. Tell me more about brining your ribs. I'm interested in this.
Well, I'm a big proponent of brining any meat.
Yeah. Even
Maybe,
hot dogs?
of course. No, yeah, you split them open, set them in Kool-Aid for 24 hours.
Dr. Pepper. Brine them in Dr. Pepper.
No, I think maybe other than beef, unless you're doing something like a corned beef or something like that, I think any piece of meat that you roast or cook can be helped by brining. And you can do the same thing with ribs. Luckily, ribs are so thin that you can get away with a 3 to 4 hour brine and have all that flavor in there, as long as you remove that bottom membrane that kind of blocks some of the flesh. Remove that membrane and dunk it into. I typically do sugar, salt, peppercorn, and apple cider vinegar brine on my ribs. And I'd like to have them in there for 12 hours, but like I said, 3 to 4 hours and you're good to go. I just think brining does so much for so many different cooking styles, especially smoking. Because if you're taking just the raw cut of meat and you're smoking, all of your flavor is coming from the outside in. But if you can impart flavor to the inside of that meat, and then have the outside flavor come in as well, you're just doubling up your flavor bomb.
And the brining is going to help it retain moisture and juiciness, which smoking will suck the life out of it. How many people have tried to smoke and come out with dry chicken, dry brisket, dry, any type of meat, it comes out dry a lot of time, and brining will be a big help for you in that
Oh yeah,
aspect.
and don't be afraid of a little spritz bottle, little spritzer of water or vinegar. Like, open up your smoker, give it a little moisture love, so you don't get like the way too crispy edges. Yeah, that'll take you a long way.
And please, like Matt said, if you're gonna try to make ribs, it's your first time, second time, third time making ribs, take the skin off the back. It's a big rookie mistake to not do that. I've done it my first time making ribs. I didn't take the skin off. Regretted it. Learned my lesson. You can learn from us, right? So please take the skin
Learn
off.
from my failure, because I
Yeah.
seem incapable of doing that.
Alice in Wonderland earlier said his brother-in-law hates his hands being dirty, so he eats ribs with a knife and a fork. Well, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Alice.
he's on some kind of watch list at this point. That's fine.
He's lost connection with his inner primordial man. He's become a yuppie, right? I bet he eats a banana with a knife and fork too.
He eats a banana the right way, and he peels it from the bottom.
He peels it from the bottom and then eats it with a spoon. He has someone feed it to him,
Well, that's
So we're gonna make a barbecue sauce for our ribs. What do you think you're putting in your barbecue sauce?
If I'm making a barbecue sauce at home, I do like the shortcuts, especially if it's just for me. I'm probably going to go with a ketchup base. Not afraid to say that.
Catsup.
Little ketchup, little Worcestershire, vinegar, brown. Actually, brown sugar is for the rub. Molasses is for the sauce.
Yes.
And then, so that's my core base. And then, kind of like you with your rub, that's how I approach my sauce. It's sort of like, what's in the cabinet? Like, how weird do I want to get? Like, if I'm sticking traditional, then it's going to be, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne, salt, traditional stuff. But there's nothing wrong with a little bird chili in there. Maybe you throw in some chili crisp or sriracha to give a little umami boost to it. I'm a big proponent of fermented flavors in sauce, so anything fermented or pickled, that juice can go right in there. And if you are blessed enough to have a food processor or a Roboku at your house, then you can take all manner of preserved vegetables and pickles and blend that up into your sauce, so you can really create any profile you want. Yeah, I'm very freestyle with my sauce outside of that base.
That sounds delicious.
Well, thank you. What about you? What's your go-to?
Well, if I'm making you a barbecue sauce, I'm gonna make you a Carolina style barbecue sauce. That's because it's what I love, so it's what you're gonna get. Um,
Hmm.
I'm gonna start out with just plain yellow mustard. That's gonna be the largest ingredient in my dish. There's gonna be more yellow mustard than anything else in it. I'm gonna add about half that amount of cider vinegar, and then I'm gonna match that with beer.
Nice.
Actually, let me go back to the very beginning. Before I start any of this, I'm gonna take my butter about 4 hours earlier and I'm gonna sit it on my counter to soften. Don't soften your butter in the microwave because it's gonna melt. All right, soften it on the counter.
Yeah, think
So,
ahead, you trash people.
because I don't, I make that mistake all the time and I get mad at myself. So, and I just did again, right? Um, I'm a little bit less than the beer and the cider. I'm gonna add some
What
brown.
kind of beer are you throwing in there?
For something like this, it's gonna be a lager, or something light, something not too powerful to overpower because the mustard based barbecue has a very particular kind of taste, and it's easy to overpower, I think, with like a darker beer.
Sure.
So, you know, a Bud Light, Coors Light, Budweiser, something like that. Just whatever is in somebody's fridge, or is cheap at the store that I can buy. Um,
I love a Newcastle. That's my go-to for sauces.
I
It's a
think that would
brown
work
ale, but
actually. Yeah, I think a Newcastle would work because it does have a very distinct flavor, but it's not like overpowering. And I think
yeah,
actually
it's light on the spectrum of brown ales for
when
sure.
I was a drinker, that was one of my favorite beers, and I'm very familiar with how it tastes, and I do think that would balance very well with the sweet mustard flavor. I'm gonna add brown sugar or molasses, something sweet that has the molasses in it. Obviously, brown sugar is just sugar with molasses in it. Molasses is just more powerful. You know what I'm saying? More strength, more power. I'm gonna add a little bit of chili powder, just a touch of chili powder, some black and white pepper, cayenne pepper, probably, depending on how much heat I want in it. I'm gonna boil that for 10 to 15 minutes. Let it get to know each other. And
Yep.
all the ingredients kind of shimmy and shake together. Um,
It's one of those things like you don't want to reduce it necessarily, but you want everything to be one cohesive unit.
yeah, exactly. And that needs to cook a little more than the other ingredients that I'm about to add. I'm gonna add a little bit of Worcestershire, a little bit of hot sauce. Um, I'm gonna whisk in my butter. And when I say actually, you don't want this to boil. You kind of want it to simmer. But I am gonna whisk in my butter. I may add liquid smoke if I don't have pan drippings. If I have pan drippings from smoking something, I'm gonna put that in. If I don't, I'm gonna add maybe a little liquid smoke. Matt's he's turning his back on me right now. He's
Oh
he's lost
man.
all respect on me. But hey, listen, liquid smoke is just it is literally the extract from smoke. Like they
It's
make it.
liquefied hickory smoke. I
Yeah.
I get it.
The key with liquid smoke is you cannot overdo it. Like you just a touch, man, because it does have a different flavor than an actual smoked something. You know what I mean?
It
I would
does, and
prefer.
I'm just that's just years of me being an absolute bloodhound for that stuff. Like I can detect it immediately, and it
That's why
it
you
turns me
you have
off.
to be very delicate with it, right? It's just a drop, right? You like if you can taste the liquid smoke, you've gone too far,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
there's a sauce it's called browning sauce that I like to
Mhm.
put in stuff sometimes. It adds a real umami kind of flavor to it. You can find it on your grocery store shelves. I may add a little bit of that in there,
Is
but
that the
nothing crazy.
Maggie, the Maggie sauce, Maggi?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff is real good.
It goes good in anything. Any kind of sauce you're making or soup, you add a little bit of that, and it's just like, where's this missing? Oh, it's missing that.
Yeah,
That was it.
that's a
Yeah,
cheat code right there.
it's just like
Again,
umami. It's like umami in a bottle. It's like if
MSG
yeah.
baby.
I don't think it actually has MSG in it, which makes it even better, right? But because it tastes so good, it probably does give us cancer or something. But once I add all that, I'm gonna keep it on a low heat for probably another 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna put it in the fridge and I'm gonna let it sit for at least a day.
Yeah.
I want my barbecue sauce to become married, common law married, before I serve it.
I want
Okay,
that
I want it
old
to have been together for so long that somebody has to pay somebody else alimony if these ingredients break apart. Okay,
those
like,
ingredients finish each other's sandwiches. Okay.
yes. Oh man, I was gonna say it. You didn't give me enough time. And it's like chili to me. I'm the same way with my chili. My wife gets so mad at me because I'll make chili and I bet you cannot eat this today. She's
Nope.
like, but I want chili. But I'm sorry, I don't let people eat my chili the day I make it. I'll
Great. You're
reheat
gonna
it
want
tomorrow
chili
for you.
even more tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna be even better tomorrow. And that's just how it is. She'll still get it because she's my wife, and I can't be hard on her for that long. She's like, please, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll throw away everything I've ever done in my life, everything I believe in for you. That's how much I love you. Throw away all
Oh,
my
well, this got
chili
real
and
sweet out of nowhere.
barbecue sauce rules. Happy wife, happy life, husbands.
There you go.
Okay, so how tender do you want your ribs, Matt?
A lot of people say fall off the bone tender. That to me, that is incorrect. I don't want to be able to just like slide every bone out of a slab of ribs and go to town. Like I want there to be a little bit of texture, because if it's literally falling off the bone, chances are you've over rendered the fat and the connective tissue, so you're losing some flavor down into the smoker. You're losing some good toothiness, some good bite. So if fall off the bone is a 10, I want mine at about a 7.5 or an 8. Like I need it to be tender, but I need to be able to have something to chew on.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. I mean, I want to feel like a caveman, so I want the bone to be the vehicle that I bring it to my mouth with. So if it
Yeah.
falls off the bone, we're gonna have some issues. I'm gonna have to get a fork, and I'm gonna have to be like Alice in Wonderland's brother over here, looking like
Yeah, we have
looking like
stated
the
our feelings
yuppie.
on
Okay,
forks, and it is not
if
acceptable.
if that happens, I'm gonna bend my head down and eat it off my plate like a bird. Okay,
Yes.
before I use a fork. All right.
I mean, you're
So
gonna throw it up into somebody's mouth as well, or
yeah, I could if you want.
nice. All right, I'm on my way.
I would rather somebody feed it to me with their bare hands than eat it with a fork. Okay, and that's why I need the bone. I need the meat to be tender enough that I don't have to fight at all to get it off the bone, but
Yes,
it still holds onto the bone. That's what I need.
it's a perfect medium. Like, and when you get into the position of like when you've smoked ribs over and over and over again, it seems like a really hard point to hit. That seems very exact, but you can get there. You can dial in your process, and you'll find exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, when I'm cooking them, my key is I can generally still pick up the rack of ribs with a pair of tongs, and it's going to hold together. But if I stick a knife between the ribs, there's zero resistance.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the moment, right? And if I get to that moment, it's getting off the heat as fast as I can get it, because we're we're rapid. Like, it goes from perfectly cooked to overcooked very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
All meat does.
The good thing about ribs, though, especially if it's a smoking situation, in the oven, not so much, but in a smoking situation, when you hit that perfect point, you do get a little bit of leeway. Like, you want to pull it off at the right time, but it's not the end of the world if you over smoke your ribs a little bit. You might lose a little bit of like good eating on the ends, but then you can just use those ends to make throw them in collard greens. You can flavor other things with it. So you're really, it's a no lose situation.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if you overcook them, they're still gonna be delicious, unless
Yeah,
you like absolutely char them or something. But the 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 one thing you don't want to do is undercook them. Chewy
absolutely.
ribs are the absolute worst.
Yup.
Overcooked ribs are, hey, this is still pretty good. Good job. You know what I mean? You did it. You didn't burn them. You didn't undercook them. There's the camera. Hey, good job. Okay. If you undercook your ribs, I'm walking out.
Yeah, undercook
That's
is
it.
going in the trash. I
Yeah.
can't, because there's so much connective tissue there. Like you have to understand what you're rendering. It's like a roast or something like that. Like there's a lot of stuff in there that is going to be impossible to chew if you don't put in the time.
Yeah. I mean, I want to feel like a primordial man, but there's a line I also do not want to cross.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to wipe myself with a leaf. You know what I mean? I don't want to I don't want to gnaw on a rib for 20 minutes to get the meat off of it. All right. What when do you like to serve ribs? If, when are you gonna make ribs? What like is there holidays or special events that when would you cook ribs?
So you mentioned this when like before we went live. That's honestly something I hadn't thought about. For me, ribs are a special occasion, kind of open ended. Like when I have a whole day to process and to smoke, like that's when I do ribs. I wouldn't really assign it to a specific holiday. What do you got in the chamber?
I'm thinking 4th of July.
Nice.
It's a day that hey, if I'm cooking, I'm thinking about ribs at least, right? I mean, it's like it's on my radar. Like, okay, I could do fried chicken, I could do brisket, you know what I mean? Depending on what my time frame is, there's a few I could do burgers and dogs if I don't have a lot of time. If I got a lot of time, hey, ribs, that's gonna be a crowd pleaser. Everybody's gonna love ribs.
Yep.
Um, I think ribs is a good Father's Day meal,
Nice. Yeah.
right? Because men like to eat ribs. I don't, like I don't know. It's like chicken wings, ribs. What do men like to eat with their hands? And
Listen, meat eating's for everybody.
yeah, it is. But I think wings and ribs are specifically or especially masculine because of the turkey legs. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yep.
just there's something visceral about it. Not to say that women can't enjoy that. I've known some women that can take down a turkey leg. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I've been trying to get my girl to Shotgun Willie's barbecue here in town for a while now, but she works at a barbecue restaurant, so that's like the last thing she wants to have at all. So it's all about the situation.
yeah, that's right. And if you work at a barbecue restaurant, this is probably not the episode for you. Like you're probably like, this does not sound good at all. This sounds terrible. Like when I was a waiter at the Thai place, it only took me about a week till I was like, I'm not eating Thai food ever again.
I never want to see fish sauce ever
Yeah,
again.
and then that lasted for about a year, and then I was like, you know what? I was wrong. I'm coming back. I'm coming home. Do you need a smoker to make ribs, Matt?
For me, this is a weird opinion. For me, yes. Like if I'm eating ribs, if somebody says, "Hey, come over, we're doing ribs," I'm assuming there is at bare minimum like a big green egg situation or something like that. I will not turn down a good oven baked rib. I've had some good ones in the past. I am looking forward to some good ones in the future. But for me, if you say we're having ribs, I am assuming they're smoked. And I'm not gonna lie, might be a little disappointed if they're not.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you on that. I'll oven bake them for myself sometimes. You know what I mean? My last rack, I grilled for a little bit and then I oven baked them. But here's the thing: you can turn your grill kind of into a smoker pretty easily with a
Oh
piece
yeah.
of aluminum foil. Throw some wet wood on there, put it down there near your flame source, and let that smoke it up and keep the lid on it. As long as you got good temperature control, especially on a gas grill. Of course, going 12 hours on a gas grill is going to cost you some money on propane, but
Yeah. Well, especially if you have a hibachi style grill, like just one of those big round guys, like that's you can turn that into a smoker instantly. Like you just put your product far away from the actual heat, and like you said, throw on some wet wood, and yeah, you've got a smoker already.
Yeah, you can make them yourself. There's a lot of tricks I know, like how to make them on your stovetop and in your oven, but I'm gonna say you probably shouldn't do that at home because I don't want you setting off your smoke alarm when you mess it up. But I'm used to doing that in commercial kitchens with hood systems that you probably don't have at home to keep the smoke moving out of the building at all times.
Yeah,
Um, if
I
you
keep forgetting that when I cook at home, and I do things that flare up like crazy, and then oh yeah, oh that's right, I have to open every door now. Oh
Oh yeah,
god.
fat and water is bad together. That's not good. And if you do it right, you can do it in your house, but I wouldn't suggest it to somebody who'd never done it before to just, hey, throw some wood in the bottom of your pan, and you know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't. Nah, that's
Yeah,
I would be
that's a
nervous
good
that
way
somebody
to
would
file an insurance claim.
yeah, leave some stains on your walls or something. Now, I hate to keep bringing up liquid smoke, but have you ever sous vide ribs?
I have, yeah.
I think ribs are a very good vessel for sous videing. I think anything that's a low and slow kind of cooking process is very good in sous vide. Um, I really enjoy a sous vide rib. I'll sous vide mine for anywhere from 48 to 72 hours when I do it, and I will, instead of smoking them, I will just just a little drop in the bag of liquid smoke, which adds just that little bit of smoky flavor. Will everybody's shaking their head at me right now.
Well,
I,
Will's not shaking his head, but I think he's conveying what we're all feeling.
he's making some gestures, we'll say. I
I
feel
think
guilty
you're on an
now.
island here, man.
I know, I feel guilty. I feel all alone. It's called liquid smoke. A lot of people don't like it, especially chefs are not big fans of it. But it's called liquid smoke, and it's literally liquid smoke. So if you don't have a smoker, you can make some things work with it. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I prefer smoked. If I had to choose between liquid smoke and a smoker, I'm taking a smoker 100 times out of 100, and I'm throwing the liquid smoke out in the trash. Like,
Well, if you
get out of here.
don't have a smoker, you probably also don't have a sous vide setup. Like
You can buy a sous vide setup for 100 to 200 bucks. Yeah, to
you
buy a
you
good.
can get a cut in half oil barrel for $10. Like you don't.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe someone lives in an apartment and doesn't have the space or the outdoor space to smoke.
Move out of your apartment, move to the woods, get an oil barrel,
Yeah.
smoke your ribs.
What is it? Walden. Go live in the woods.
Yeah.
You're like the Unabomber. That's what you are. You're like the liquid smoke Unabomber.
I'm the Unabomber of ribs. Let's put that on a t-shirt. Let's get that one going.
Liquid smoke is ruining our society. I'm moving to the woods. Live with my smoker. Show us your dirt. Twitter at the Dirty Belly, Instagram at the Dirty Belly, Facebook the Dirty Belly Show. We're terrible at social media. We know. We're sorry.
It's all
That's just
right.
how we are.
Don't be sorry.
But these
Oh,
places exist.
Quick shout out before we get to the episode wrap up. Everybody get on Instagrizzy and maybe Facebook. I'm not really sure. I don't think so. Check out Hot Like Sauce Barbecue. And there's going to be a little something happening on June 10th where a little fella named Will Gray is going to be slinging some meats and such out of somebody's house in East Nashville. So we're definitely not going to give that address out here. But yeah, hit it up. If you're in the Nashville area, get your pre-orders in now. Again, Hot Like Sauce Barbecue on Instagram. Check that out. Maybe you'll see some familiar faces and you'll definitely get some tasty vittles. So check it out.
Yeah, and be careful, Will, because the last time you were slinging meat, you got some charges, and you weren't allowed within 100 yards of a school. So
That's how you got the first one.
be careful, okay? Don't get caught. Also, shout out Angry Lemonade, our merch shop. Will's gonna put the Link up in the window is Rivet City
Hell
Radio
yeah.
merch shop. I don't know if you want to buy some shirts or whatever it is we're selling.
Have you seen the logo? It's going to be fantastic.
Shout outs, trivia night, 8 p.m. Thursday, botch spots and chair shots at sometime on Sunday. I don't have a time written down for some reason, my mistake. And then tea and hot takes, 8 p.m. Tuesdays, which is today, which doesn't make any sense, but here we go. I'm sorry, guys. I take terrible notes. Thank you, hungry homies, for joining us today on our journey of learning more about the food we eat. Stay hungry. Actually, don't stay hungry. Stay fed.
Don't do that. Keep eating.
Yeah.
Fill them bellies. Show me them bellies. We still have not gotten one belly pic. I want a pic of your. This is not a metaphor. I want to see your belly.
Yeah.
Let's
And
go.
that's a secret to my marriage. I keep my wife fed. Okay. So, all right. Adios.
All right. Love y'all. Mean it.